We're talking MAAC women's basketball with the head coach of the Fairfield Stags, Carly Thibault-DuDonis, joins us now. I'm John Fanta, and we're talking about the Stags because Fairfield is 7-1 on the season. They're 7-1 for the first time since the 1983-84 campaign. Carly, it's great to have you. Happy holidays to you. And you've got to be happy with your team, right? 7 wins in the first 8 games. What has led to such a great start to the season for your Stags?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate you covering us. As long as you don't ask me what's in my beach bag, I'll answer whatever you want to know. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk about our team and obviously a special start to the season. What I'm really proud about our group is that they really truly do take it one at a time. It would have been easy early on to look forward. We go out to Nashville and look one game ahead to Vanderbilt or look ahead to some of these other games. And we've really stayed in the moment and tried to get better every single day, which I'm really proud for them. That sounds a little bit cliche in coach speak, but we talk a lot about being in the moment. And so each game and each day kind of presents a different challenge for us to try to improve on. And I think that our women have done a great job of staying in the moment.
So let's go back to this past Sunday. You beat Fordham. This comes off of a win over a St. John's program that went to the NCAA tournament last year. But in that Fordham game, Megan Anderson connects on a huge fourth quarter basket to break a tie game, comes up with a couple of free throws down the stretch. How big was that, and what have you seen from Megan?
Yeah, Meg is wise beyond her years. Watching her play, her poise is so much, it does not scream freshman by any means. And she's been like that since day one. She kind of plays at her own pace and she doesn't get sped up. And, she didn't have the best first half. She'd be the first to tell you that. And I'm really proud of her because she's been working on, not letting missed shots or previous mistakes affect her. And she really showed up for us, particularly in the fourth quarter, with some huge baskets and huge buckets. But that's kind of the neat thing about this team as well, is that there's not an added pressure to have to do everything, because early on it was, Katie Lamro, and in the middle of the game, it was kind of Nellie Brown. And then Meg kind of closed it out for us. And there's a lot of different plays between, other people on the team as well. So I think there's a lack of pressure almost. Other than the 2 clutch free throws, those are pretty pressure filled, and she knocked those down.
Yes, absolutely. Going along those lines, where does that come from? This group's ability to have an unselfishness, to, hey, it could be Nellie. It could be somebody else that steps up for your team in those key situations. And what does that tell you, the leader of this program, about the group of individuals you have?
We've got an amazing group of women, and I've talked about that to anybody that will listen, honestly, from our coaches to community to administration and campus, and anybody that will talk about our team, because, we've talked about that truthfully since the moment I stepped in the door of trying to build a culture that's selfless. And this year in particular, being selfless looks like, sometimes it might be your night and your turn to step up, and sometimes it might not be. And so, we've got players that might play 28, 29, 30 minutes one night, and then somebody else steps up and they might play 15. And so being able to, be ready when your number is called and when it's your night, and being the biggest cheerleader when it's somebody else's. And I'm really proud of how they've done that. The hardest thing for coaches is trying to figure out, who it is the right, button to call and number to call at different times. But this group just is super selfless in that way. And so it allows us to have that depth and rely on different people at different times, because they are so willing to play whatever role is needed.
We talked about Megan Anderson coming up clutch in the win over the weekend over Fordham. But Janelle Brown, who you mentioned, she's the leading scorer in the MAAC. The fact that Fairfield has 2 of the top 3 scorers in a league as competitive as this one certainly stands out. But you get to be around Nellie every single day. What makes her special?
How long do you have? She's incredible. She's about as fun of a human as you can be around. And I know you guys got to spend a little bit of time with her at MAAC Media Day. She just lights up any room that she walks in. And she's fun, she's energetic, but she also is ultra competitive, wants to win everything, and has no off switch as far as, competing and going as hard as humanly possible. So that just sets the tone for our entire team all the time. And I'm really, for her, the fun thing about continuing to be a part of her growth is, last year she was trying to figure out how to channel that. And this year she's kind of found some poise and some calm while still being ultra competitive and playing incredibly hard and, at 100% all the time, and has found a really good balance with that and has been able to lead our team in a lot of big games.
I look at your team as well and be remiss to not bring this up because I know you've got pride for this end of the floor. You're at tops of the MAAC in opponent field goal percentage and opponent three-point field goal percentage. Your defense has been terrific. Your second in scoring defense on the year. And what a mark that is the Stags are only allowing 57 points per game. What has led this group to having success on that end of the floor?
I can point to a couple things with that. So last year, that's really where we had to hang our hat because, our scoring was a little bit harder to come by. So our foundation was truthfully built on our defense. So not a lot has changed. We've tweaked some things here and there, but that's been able to stay consistent with the returners that we had from last year. In addition to just the discipline that my staff and our players, have embraced. And so, I want to give a shout out to Erica Brown on our staff. She's kind of the constant defensive voice. Like when I'm looking at the offense and some of our other coaches are watching the offensive side, she's constantly, coaching habits defensively. So, it's a group effort, but for us, we also, I'm sure you'll get to some of the offensive things, but we talk about in order to be able to play the way we want to offensively, you got to play really hard and get stops. You can't take the ball out of the net, every single time and still try and play fast and play in broken floors. So it starts with the defensive end and how we want to play offensively.
Carly, I got to ask you about the family of basketball that you come from. I saw your father, Mike, a couple of weeks ago doing some evaluating and making his way around. And your brother, Eric, current head coach of the Washington Mystics, but for Mike to be a three-time WNBA Coach of the Year. What's it like at the Thanksgiving table or maybe at the holiday outings through the years or perhaps back in the day in the backyard? I've got to imagine the Thibault household has had their fair share of battles on the court.
I mean, you mentioned some big meals, but you can just talk about like a random Tuesday at breakfast, whatever you want to throw out there. But no, I was really fortunate to grow up in a basketball family. And it's one of the reasons, it's a big reason why I am where I am is that I've, I think some people talk about, like dog years, like I've got like, coaching years where I might be young, but I've been around it for as long as I can remember. So whatever team my dad was a part of, my brother and I found a way to hang around and be a part of it. And so, I mean, growing up, there was a lot of horse games. I think my dad got to a point where he refused one-on-one, but horse became the thing. But truthfully, my brother was a big impact on me as well. When I was a player at Monmouth, he trained me a lot leading into my senior year of college and played a lot of one-on-one and really helped me develop as a player. So it's always kind of been integrated into our family. And now, they actually were just here this past week. Both my dad and brother and mom were all at our St. John's game, and then they had to go and scout the games at Mohegan Sun on Sunday, so they weren't there. But I think there's still some napkins laying around the house with diagrams and things somewhere. So it's just a constant.
Anything can become a whiteboard
Yes.
in the Thibault household.
Yep.
Napkins.
Been known to use, salt shakers, whatever you need, some condiments on the table.
Let me ask you about Fairfield and this place. What's allowing it for you to be at home there?
Well, I will tell anybody that listens, I think it's one of the best women's basketball jobs in the country right now for a lot of different reasons. For me, it was going to have to take the right place to leave, Minnesota. I loved the people I worked with. I loved my job there. And to me, this just screamed like a place you could be successful in women's basketball. Between a super supportive administration, a history of success, both in women's basketball and in a lot of the women's programs. And I was enticed by the fact that a lot of the coaches there, in particular on the women's side, have been there for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And I loved that there was a pull to stay somewhere a long time. For me, it's not about level, it's about fit. And so between that and then, as I'm sure you've seen and a lot of, fans have seen our brand new arena, they're investing in basketball and in particular women's basketball. So in order for me to take a women's job, it had to be somewhere that you're going to be supported with the resources you needed to be successful. And all those boxes get checked. In addition to, Fairfield itself, it's a great school. It's an awesome area to recruiting because you can recruit the tri-state area and Boston and the East Coast, but you can also get to anywhere in a heartbeat from New York and international. So it checked a lot of boxes.
Opening weekend of MAAC play is ahead. You've got a pair of home showdowns, Mount St. Mary's, 2 Eastern time Saturday. That's on ESPN+. And then on Monday night, December the 18th, 7 Eastern time, also from the Leo D. Mahoney Arena, that beautiful, beautiful home building of yours, taking on Manhattan. That's also on ESPN Plus. So let's get the coach's perspective right now. Carly, when you look around your league, when you look at the MAAC, the strength of this conference, and what it's like when you transition into MAAC play, how would you break that down?
Well, first of all, shout out to all the MAAC teams and the MAAC coaches. They've done a great job in non-conference. You know, we've had a really strong showing, beating a ton of great opponents. So I'm honored to be in a great group of coaches. And now as you look forward to it, now it's really go time. And not that it wasn't before, but all your non-conference games are to prepare you for what's to come and to be ready to be successful in conference. So like on my staff does our scheduling, and I think set up a great schedule for us to be challenged in a lot of different ways, both on the road, bigger opponents, similar style, similar level. And now it's, you use all of that, whether it's blowouts or close games or whatever it is, to get ready for the MAAC. And so leading into that, you know, I mentioned earlier, just trying to get better every single day. And now, you know, everybody knows what you're going to do. We're not a surprise anymore. I think those first few games we were able to catch a couple teams by surprise because we were playing so different. And our coaches do a great job of scouting in our league. So they're going to try to take away a lot of what we do. And now it's just where we can continue to do what we do regardless of how people guard us, and be smarter and more prepared to adjust when things do get taken away from us.
Carly, before I let you go, I think of the upcoming holiday season and the Christmas season and everything that comes this time of year. You played the game. I know how grateful you are for the game of basketball. How much during a time of year like this do you try to make your women aware? You said you got a great group, but just talking with them about how great of an opportunity it is day in, day out to come in and be at Fairfield and play this game that we all love.
Yeah, so we have 4 standards that we talk about. I already mentioned selfless, and, you know, spoiler alert, it's going to spell STAG as an acronym, but selfless, tough, accountable, and grateful. And the gratitude, we talk about, you know, just as much as anything else, of being grateful for the opportunity, not only to play the game, but to have, you know, get a great education and be surrounded by other great people, and be in a program with great people. So, and I was fortunate around Thanksgiving, we had the day off. So a lot of our women got to go home, but we had a couple of our kind of non-locals that ended up at our house. And for me, you know, basketball and family are kind of one and the same, growing up in a basketball family that you mentioned. So I love that brings us together in a lot of different ways. And, you know, I think the joy that comes with the game, we have a lot of women who find joy in the day-to-day, and that you don't find that everywhere. And so I'm blessed to be around a group that brings joy to the gym. And that's one of my values as a person. And it's so much fun every single day going to the gym.
Well, it's been great to catch up with you and talk about your terrific program at Fairfield. The Stags, folks, are 7-1 for the first time in 40 years. They welcome in Mount St. Mary's Saturday, December the 16th, to tip off MAAC play, 2 Eastern time. It's on ESPN Plus. Carly Thibault-DuDonis, congratulations on the start of the year. Best of luck as MAAC play begins.
Thanks so much. Thanks for covering us.